I like this watch. I like it a lot. And honestly, I'm surprised. This is the Patek Philippe Neptune 5085. I'm borrowing this Neptune from Time Titans, who has it listed for sale. I asked to borrow it because this just isn't a watch you see that often, and certainly one you're not going to find many videos about. I didn't actually expect to like wearing it. I remember several years ago seeing photos of this watch and thinking, this has to be one of the ugliest pieces Patek Philippe has ever made. The dial layout seems like a mess, the hands are simplistic and unrefined. The bracelet? What is even going on with that? Really, that's what I thought. And now that it's on my wrist, I don't want to take it off. So what the hell changed? And what do I like about it now? Let's get into it. First, some facts about the 5085 Neptune. The Neptune line had a pretty short life. It started in 1996 with the time and date reference 5080. In 1998, Patek added this 5085. The 5080 was discontinued in 2002, and the 5085 was discontinued in 2005, meaning this watch was only produced for 7 years. In retrospect, it seems like a surprisingly short run, especially for a steel, somewhat sporty Patek Philippe. But at the time, there just wasn't the luxury steel craze that we've seen recently. Looking at the arguably failed Neptune line gives us some perspective, and reminds me, at least, that the recent interest in steel sport watches could very well be a bubble. The dimensions of the 5085 also give us some perspective. The watch is 37mm in diameter and 10mm thick. I'd wager in 1998, nobody thought this was small. Yet today I'll bet a lot of people would say this is too petite for a modern man. Wearing this on my 18cm wrist, I agree with those peoples of antiquity from the 1990s. I think this size is really a sweet spot, especially for a watch with an integrated bracelet. Because the bracelet starts as wide as the nominal lugs, and the bracelet doesn't drop straight down from the case, I think the Neptune is suited for a wrist larger than most 37mm watches are. I don't think smaller wrists would have a problem with this, but I think this might fit best on wrists approaching or exceeding 7 inches. The bracelet is really something. It's probably the most divisive element of the Neptune, and I totally get why. I guess it's something like a full beads of rice style. It's round and fluid. The bracelet tapers from about 25mm at the case to 16mm at the clasp. It's fully polished on its top and brushed on its sides. The design reminds me of vintage bracelets from Patek and similar brands. It reminds me of a different time when dudes wore graceful and elegant watches, says the guy with the Omega Pro Prof. I know. Hey, I'm an equal opportunity addict. One surprise for me is that the bracelet uses screws in its links. Even the 2016 Nautilus I had used pins and collars. When I bent a pin, I had to wait 6 months for a new one. Screw you, Patek Philippe. Like the bracelet, the case is polished on top and brushed on the sides. A few people have asked me if the bracelet is fully integrated or can be removed from the case. I'd say it's pretty well integrated. There is some kind of pin that goes through the lugs. If it were a screw, I think you'd have a better chance, but even then you'd have to get a custom strap made to fit properly between the beads that are part of the case. And if you hate the bracelet that much, get another watch, you weirdo. Leave old Neptune alone. The dial is nearly as divisive as the bracelet, and for me it was initially what I disliked most about the watch. It's busy, it's asymmetrical, it's funky. Around 10:30 is the power reserve indicator. In my few days wearing the 5085, this has been the most useful complication on the dial. Around 4:22 is the running seconds hand, and at 7 o'clock is the date wheel and the moon phase. It's important to note that this is not an annual or perpetual calendar, so some regular setting of the date is required, and that's kind of a pain because both the moon phase and the date are set with hidden pusher buttons on the sides of the case. The dial has numerals arcing across only its top half. At each hour, though, is a lume plot. The main hour hand and minute hand also have some lume. All the hands are bizarrely simplistic. While I've come to like the watch a lot, I still think the hands could use a little more shape or at least be wider. If this strange dial layout looks familiar to you, it might be because the 5085 Neptune shares a movement with the 5712 Nautilus. The movement they both use is the caliber 240 PS IRM C LU. The 240 base movement is used in many Patek Philippe watches, but this variation with these complications is pretty rare. The Nautiluses that contain this movement are sold on the gray market for close to $100,000 these days. So the fact that you can get this movement in a steel watch for around $20,000 is very interesting. The 240 is automatic and yet super thin thanks in part to the use of the 22 karat gold micro rotor. The movement is finished in the traditional Swiss style and impeccably. Whatever you think about the front side of this watch, you gotta give it up for the back. I've been trying to identify what caused my change of heart with this watch. How did I go from being repulsed to being refreshed? I think a couple of things have happened over the past few years. First is the absurd luxury steel craze. You used to be able to get a Nautilus or a Royal Oak for $16,000 to $18,000, even less sometimes. Now not even selling a kidney would get me one, and I've got the best kidneys, tremendous kidneys. So to see a steel watch with an integrated bracelet by Patek Philippe for under $25,000, all of that can kind of change your opinion about a watch. But I don't think that's really what drove my conversion. I think the real cause is my continued exposure to more and more watches. In the last few years, I've owned, handled, and reviewed countless watches of all shapes, sizes, materials, and aesthetics. And each one of those moves my taste in subtle ways. You could say it refines it, but that implies it's getting better. There's no better or worse when it comes to taste, really. But it's important to recognize that what you like and want changes. Don't get into that concrete thinking of, I'm a Speedmaster guy or I'm a Rolex guy. You're not. You just like those things right now. And I think acknowledging that can open you up to enjoying things that you once avoided. Adding things to the list of stuff you like makes life richer. Wouldn't you rather have that list grow than shrink? Even if the list includes this weird-ass Patek Philippe Neptune.